Welcome to the week of transition. Much like labor, transition can be often painful.
How are you doing with that, Cass?
What's that?
I said, how are you doing with that, Cass?
Oh, hold on. I am okay. I want to know what Jade said. Jade, speak.
I said, it sounds like you're reading off of a card or something.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I just, taught childbirth education for years, had 3 children, et cetera, and am familiar with the transitional phase of life.
Yeah.
So but we're in it.
Yes, you are in it.
I mean, it's not just me.
Yeah, that was a nice you. She's like, don't leave me out here alone. It's a we thing.
Your transition is a lot more apparent than ours. How about that?
That is true. I will give it that much. I'm sitting in a room full of boxes. So,
yeah.
And did the moving truck arrive yet?
Nope. No, it did not. So we missed the fine print that said we had to call 2 business days before to confirm, even though we had a reservation. So it'll be here sometime today. They squeezed us in, which is fine. It's just we couldn't pick our window. So now we kind of have to wait all day around and see when and if it is going to come.
You have someone coming or do they stay and put the boxes on the truck?
Oh, no. We have the truck for 3 days here. And then we have someone coming for 2 hours tomorrow and 2 hours Wednesday.
Perfect.
So, yes.
But that means you're moving a lot of boxes.
That means we're moving a lot of boxes.
Is it an ABF truck?
It is an ABF truck.
That's how I moved from Idaho to Wisconsin.
Nice. That is how I moved from Virginia Beach to DC. And then that was it.
Yeah.
All the other ones have been U-Haul.
ABF is good stuff.
They are. The only thing is we just realized that the trailer is not going to fit in our driveway in Savannah. So we are going to have to basically leave it at the terminal, get a U-Haul, and then transfer the boxes from the ABF truck into the U-Haul, and then from the U-Haul into the house.
Oh no, Cass.
Luckily, it's really cheap to actually hire moving labor down there versus in Maine. Maine is about $50 to $60 an hour. Savannah is like $20 to $25. So it's okay. I'm not mad at it.
At least you won't have to do the heavy lifting there. That is,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to hopefully point. So we have not yet pulled cards today. I want to know what's happening.
I'm pulling right now.
Jade, give us some words. Do you have your unicorn deck, Cass?
No, that is packed.
No.
I have my tarot deck and my shamanic medicine deck, and
I've missed that unicorn deck. It's so good.
Unicorn deck will come back mid-August. Stay tuned. Actually, for the podcast listeners, probably close to late August, early September.
I was pulling cards as you were talking based on our conversation before we pressed record about the gray. See episode, whatever you want to call it. What episode was it? One of the very beginning episodes where I am not allowed to play in the gray in this lifetime. And when I do, I get slapped by the universe. I just have to. But I love playing in the gray, and I love that Cass is supposed to play in the gray in this lifetime.
And I hate playing in the gray, but I happen to be really good at it.
Yeah, so I was just pulling cards around like a really specific decision that we have to make. And of course, if we play in the gray, we are more than held. Actually, I pulled the Chariot like a million times when we were talking about it. And I love, if you're not watching the YouTube, it's literally a card of like gray and black. And the Chariot is very much about recognizing that things are not black and white. They are not always what they seem. And you have to recognize it standing behind, the Chariot. He's holding the reins of these very powerful horses, like be in control. You look ahead, you let things go the way they need to go, but you keep your eye on what you need to keep your eye on. So that's the Chariot. And then I also pulled the 4 of Wands, which is all about victory. It's like literally a celebration of victory, of action. However, if we do not play in the gray and we just, go for it, we're also going to be held. We've got the Knight of Swords, which we have pulled a lot of times around money, right? It's a very good card for money manifestation. And the Ace of Wands, which is an opportunity for action, positive forward momentum. So we can just go for it, and we can play in the gray. We're going to be held either way. Are we surprised by that answer? No.
Damn it. And it's funny because like when you're talking about that, I'm like, there's not even like a, well, 60% of you will be held this way and 40% this way. Like they're pretty fucking even. At least from my interpretation.
Same.
Great.
The only thing I would say is
Chariot.
we have pulled the Chariot countless times for this whole endeavor.
Yeah.
We constantly talk about how we do not see things in black and white, that we do things differently, that we're willing to do that we're constantly pivoting, that we don't follow the rules, that anyone following our progress would be like, that's a hot mess. You're doing it all wrong.
And that's my whole pitch tomorrow, Jade. You just summed it up.
Literally, the Chariot is so representative of all of that. And so for it to show up when you're talking about continuing to play in that gray, I think it's pretty powerful.
Embrace the gray.
What
do our hip hop queens have to say about this?
So I pulled some interesting cards today. Some that I haven't pulled before, so it's interesting. I pulled one just for us for this podcast, and I pulled MC Light, which is the skill card, because I've not pulled her before.
Yeah.
And her words are proficiency, accuracy, and articulation. It says you may have something to say, but don't quite know how to say it. Sometimes it's hard to be eloquent when emotions are involved. So an MC Light card suggests you should gingerly get to your point, but weigh your words. Take a moment to think about whom you're speaking to and what message lies behind the conversation. Also, analyze your means of communication. Will this work better in person, over the phone, or even as a handwritten letter? There are many ways to get your point across, but understand that words have power and be mindful of their value. Don't address the situation when you're upset either. You don't have to be a roughneck to stand firm in your truth.
Well, that's pretty fitting, shall we say?
So there's that for our podcast.
Okay.
And then, so Cass, I pulled Young MA Potential, which I've never pulled this card for you before.
I've never seen that card. Yeah.
I will just see what words stand out for me. This is a new one. So, self-actualization, professional vision, and future plans.
That feels right for this week.
It says your plan seems crystal clear, yet you're rocking back and forth on your heels and celebrating every milestone. While it's good to pat yourself on the back when you hit a new level, just remember that too much congratulatory behavior can make you complacent. Be like MA and take this card to heart. New levels equal new devils. So while you may see the bigger picture in the distance, you must press forward with each step toward accomplishing your specific goals. Stopping for water is fine in this race, but don't get trapped in suspended animation when your destination awaits. So interesting.
So like, don't stop in Pennsylvania and be like, hey, we're good here. We're not going to go to Savannah. Fuck
exactly. Keep going. So another one that I pulled for Jade that I haven't pulled yet is Remy Ma Courage, which is conviction, bravery, defense, challenges, and resentment. When Remy Ma re-entered, the entire hip-hop industry had changed. Instead of falling prey to intimidation, she mustered up the courage to return. Likewise, pulling a Remy Ma card signals you'll have the bravery to enter into a new cycle of your life. Changes are afoot, and you may be concerned about them, but don't let the apprehension stifle you. You can be a little conceited. You may have a reason. So honor your inner strength. roll with the punches, and hold your head high as you brave whatever storms may come. That's accurate.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I feel like our
And-
cards go together, Jade.
For sure.
And then I pulled a card that I've never pulled for myself, and I pulled Queen Latifah.
Ooh, we haven't seen her.
Nope. Respect.
RESPCT.
And her words are principles, resolve, hard-headedness, and fight. And it says, we're told time and time again that respect is never given, it's earned. But what happens when you feel like you've given your all and respect is never returned? Do you proceed in spite of your own insecurities, even if you may not be looked upon favorably? Or do you switch up your own style and let your body language and posture do the talking? It's a predicament, to say the least, and one you'll have to tread through lightly. Don't come across as too overbearing in the pursuit of respect, because the reverse will happen. Think like the queen on this card, hold your chin up and straighten your crown. The rest will fall into place.
Love it.
So
Interesting pulls today.
I know. And, last but not least, I always pull for our guest. She got Mary J. Blige healing. So I'm excited for that conversation, because that has got to be fun.
I met her many weeks ago, and she was my favorite little 15-minute interview of all of our guests.
Can you say that? Is that allowed to say?
I know. You've had a lot of really good ones.
I know they were all really good, but
Oh,
something
really
about just our connection, it just was like, we both were like, okay, we could just keep talking. I'm sure if I pulled our charts together, they're just probably pretty magical. That's what happened. So I'm really excited to see her again.
Her words are reflection, therapy, breaking patterns, and recovery. One sentence. You can't heal what you don't reveal.
Yum.
So this is going to be a good conversation. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, these hip hop queens are talking today.
They are.
They always do.
Oh, they do.
Is there any other updates we want to give before our guest gets here?
I don't know. Do we
Well,
want to open up Pandora's box?
I know, that's what it kind of feels like.
I feel like we need to tell people what's happening tomorrow.
Oh, by the time this goes live, we will have results.
Good point. Did you just roll the drum roll?
Could you not hear it?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's really sad. I have the echo shut off, so it probably picked up the echo. That's sad. Anyway, maybe Amanda can add a little drum roll in here. We will be pitching to a very large accelerator tomorrow and a very large VC on Wednesday. So it's a big week. And then my internet gets shut off Thursday morning. So I'm glad it's all happening before Thursday.
Yeah.
So,
And before we were given these opportunities, I had planned a camping trip, which Cass and Kaylin you were both like, maybe you should not be going on this camping trip, but I am going to go. Looked it up. There's really strong Wi-Fi because it's an RV park. Like there's a pool there and stuff. So it's kind of like glamping. So I will have.
are you staying in a tent or are you staying in an RV or cabin? Or?
No, it's a little cabin. So it's a cabin. They're very basic. They just have like thin foam pads and bunk beds. But our last one we stayed at had a air conditioning unit in it. So it makes it so much nicer than a tent.
Yes. Where is it? Is it close to you or?
It's 2 hours south. We're going to go to Starved Rock, which is supposed to be a really amazing park with some really great waterfalls, and it is Native American land that they preserved
Very
for
cool.
its beauty.
Good energy there.
I hope so. Jack looked it up. He's not so sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We love Jack's takes. What is Jack's take? He
just feels very, very passionately about what we did to, the Native Americans. He's anti-Caucasian.
As a white man, I love that about him.
He just protested. He heard me. He's like, I am not anti-Caucasian.
Don't protest much.
he disagreed with our methods and I think some negative things happened on that land.
Yeah.
Can we
Uh-huh.
have Jack on the podcast one day asking not for a friend?
Oh my God. That would be the
Absolutely.
best.
Jack, will you
Jack.
be a podcast guest sometime?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. He has no problem with that.
That's
I would love that. That would honestly probably be the best conversation.
He can be a guest.
He is not a 15-year-old teenager, though. He is
No.
like a 50, 60-year-old, just like
Professor.
well-read, like gentleman.
And he'll be able to tell you about his chart himself to introduce himself.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's very exciting news that we have coming up, and just feels like we're really getting traction on finally, and it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
It's really nice to have you here, Elisa. I'm saying your name correctly, right?
Oh, yes, Elisa.
All right,
yes.
beautiful.
you.
I think your name is so pretty, and I love your accent. So I'm glad that everybody gets to to hear from you for the next little bit of time. So we've been
Thanks.
introducing all of our guests by their sun, moon, and rising. So we have here today a sun in Leo, a moon in Scorpio, and a rising in Sagittarius. You do have this beautiful grand trine in water, and you just have lots of fire and water in your chart. So that is a powerful force. You dropped some really beautiful words about water before we pressed record. So
Yeah.
the force of
Probably gonna
water.
have you repeat them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could just say a little bit more, I think that bears repeating, because water is, it's emotions and feelings, but say some more if you wouldn't mind, if you
Sure.
remember what you said before we.
Yeah. I was just telling you that yesterday I went to the beach with my daughter, and we were swimming in the ocean, and at one point she was like asking me maybe to not let water go over her board. Now I don't remember exactly, and I just turned around and said, well, you cannot contain water, you cannot not have water go wherever it wants to go. And then kind of stopped me there, and really like I had this window opening and thought to myself, wow, that is so powerful, because it's so true. Water has no shape, has no form. You can't really, you can contain it and give it a shape, which is great, right? Which means that on top of maybe the emotions, that is the hardest part to deal with, the power of the water, the sensing, the reaching, the embracing, the, like even I would say probably conquering. If you learn to flow with it instead of being afraid of it, instead of wanting to just control it in a certain way, I think that it can make us all, with a lot of water in our charts, flow better in our lives. There was a very interesting, just like piece of awareness that I had right there, considering how much I love water, how much I need to be close to the water to feel like myself. And I'm sure that who has a lot of water can resonate with this. At the same time, understanding that the power of the water, when you look at it from a metaphysical perspective, that is the power of like perceiving, right? What is subtle, what is deep, what is below. And if you just learn to flow with it instead of being afraid of it, I think that it just gives us probably even like a deeper sense of purpose and a better sense of owning ourselves in a way, for as much as it is possible, of course. That was
said.
My water sign is so happy. My water rising is so happy.
Your Cancer and your Scorpio are all.
They're like,
yay! Let's get some acknowledgement here, right?
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of work.
download. We love a good beach download on this podcast.
We do.
There you
We
go.
had a lot of downloads at the beach for sure.
Oh yeah. What a magical place to be, honestly.
Where do you live?
I live in Sarasota, which is
Okay.
on the Gulf of Mexico in
Yep.
Florida. I
Yep.
haven't been here for very long, just maybe 3 years before I was on the other coast, California. So like such different vibes, honestly.
Oh yeah, different
yeah.
people.
Completely. Completely.
Yeah.
And but this place is so magical. Like the energy here is very spiritual, probably
Sarasota.
because of all the nature, right?
Yeah.
Cass can talk about the portal that is.
Yeah, well, Tampa as well, but Sarasota's obviously we have ties to as well, and have looked at a retreat there, and my dad was born there, and there's a lot of other things that kind of all go back to that lovely coast of Florida. Which one do you find yourself more at home in, Florida or California?
Gosh, that's another question. I think because of the water element, probably here in a sense, because like it's the same humidity of the area where I come from, in Italy, same, sense of, kind of being in water even when you're not in the water.
Yep.
So it feels very familiar. But California is another magical place, just on a different level, I would say, on different vibe, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Now I have to ask, we're in Italy.
I know.
Oh yeah. So I come from the Emilia-Romagna region. That's basically, well, my little town is on the east coast, northeast. That would be like a couple hours drive south of Venice, for example. So I was raised very close to the Adriatic Sea, and I had a lot of beach life. That's why it's basically all I understand. And that's a very beautiful region, and unlike other areas of Italy, is not that heavy touristy. So if you ever get to go to Italy, you want to visit the Romagna region. It's so beautiful. And the food.
I am going to Italy in a year from August. So I'll definitely connect with you because Eric and I are going to have about a week alone there. So I would love to talk to you. I will.
Oh yeah. I'll
connect with you later.
All kind of things to suggest as well as connections, places, and
Beautiful.
Yeah. Reach out. Absolutely.
I'm saying Cass and I have both been. I took my oldest when he was 1. We went, so it was
where did you go?
Trip. We went in 2018.
Where?
We flew. Goodness. So we did Venice, Florence, and Rome, of course.
Cool.
I think we stopped one other place. It's so funny. It's such a blur to me.
You had a baby with you. Of course it is.
I had a child. I didn't sleep well because we only spent 3 nights in every place that we went. And he didn't sleep for the first night, every place that we went. So I only got like a night and a half really of sleep each place.
How old did you say he was?
He had just turned 1.
Oh,
just
boy.
after his first birthday.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
No.
It was the best though. Let me tell you, all of the Italian grandmothers loved him.
Oh yeah.
The kid was kissed and snuggled and given so much goodies. He lived off of gelato for the week and a half that we were there. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Have you been to the area, Cass, that she's talking about?
I have. That's part of why Amelia is named Amelia.
Oh my gosh. My daughter's name Amalia.
Oh, I have Amelia with
What are the chances?
I have Emilia.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God.
that's awesome.
So you've been in that region, in that area?
San Marino, and then was it Parma?
Oh yeah, Parma.
Yeah, so I've been to both of those kind of 2.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I've been all over Italy, but
there you go. Oh my gosh.
That's part of Amelia's namesake. So I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that
I almost feel at home.
So that's
beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun little synergies and connections.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would go back to Italy in a heartbeat. I loved it. Oh my goodness. So what brought you to the United States.
To
Then.
the US.
Besides the fact that she's a Sagittarius rising.
Correct. And you
Right.
have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually planning already to come to the US with a friend, an American friend that I connected with in Italy, and she was from Washington, DC.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, I don't want to live in the US, but if you want to go, I'll come with you for a little bit. And I was like, okay. And then I actually met my husband, who is an American, is originally from Montana, who lived in Europe for like 10 years and then in France and then moved to Italy. So that's where we met basically. And after our daughter was born, well, I have always known that I was probably ending up here. I always got a sense of being in the US for some reason. And then it was like, well, maybe we can give it a try. That was very much like a leap of faith, because we moved here with nothing, like no jobs, no nothing really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy when I think about it.
Always kind
Wow.
of been in the intuitive space then, or?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I had back then I had already started my business more on the coaching side, because for a period I had kind of part ways with my more intuitive side, or I was kind of keeping things a little bit, locked in the closet.
The broom closet, we got it.
Right. The famous closet. So yeah, but like that was already like the decision that I had made, finally found myself into, because like the problem when you have like a Sagittarius rising and also a North Node in the first house, right? It's like you can't fit in any job that is a regular job, right? Is just feels like a, oh my gosh, I don't know how many of them I changed. Yeah. So I was like, I can't do that, so I'm gonna have to do this other thing, because it's either or.
How did you find your way to Akashic record reading?
So I remember reading, I don't even know exactly, those things that are kind of orchestrated. I read an email from someone that I knew who was talking about this lady giving an Akashic Records class, offering an Akashic Records class. And I didn't even know what Akashic Records were back then. And I basically found myself clicking and paying and signing up. No idea what the heck I was doing. And between that and the class, I was like, what is it that I'm signing up for? I had no idea. And I think I didn't even bother to do a search or anything. And so then when this class started, and she basically attuned us to the Akashic Records, I realized that was something I've been doing before, just naturally, but I didn't know that was it.
Right.
And so it was just like, oh, okay. And that kind of opened, little by little, the door to all my past experiences coming back to me and building up into becoming more and more of this awareness of, okay, that's what I am meant to be doing. And I have been kind of ignoring for a little while. And, these things are real more than, we would like to sometimes admit to ourselves. And that's basically how it all began. It kind of hooked me back and brought me forward as well.
How long ago was that?
I think it was 2015 when I took that class. Yeah.
So how do you use your skill?
In many ways. So let's see where I want to take this. It kind of infiltrates a lot of things I do, without, you ladies know, like without even really wanting, it just kind of gets in. So even if I'm having a conversation with a random person, I might end up saying something that I didn't really think. It kind of just comes through,
Mhm.
you know.
Yes.
And then more consciously in my work, well, it goes both in the way of the healing, and in the way of the offering information. So I definitely, you know, use it both ways. Specifically, if you're talking specifically about the Akashic records, then at times it happens that maybe I'm talking to someone and like a past loved ones come in and wants to say something, and I'm like, okay. So, you know, it depends if what the situation is mostly.
Yeah.
No, we
Interesting.
totally understand that.
What's that?
I said we totally understand that. It kind of comes and flows where and when and how it wants to flow. So
Right, exactly.
And we've talked so many times on this podcast about how you can assign a modality, like you can say, I'm a shaman, I'm a psychic, but it's all coming from the same source, right?
Yeah.
And so it becomes less and less as you work with people, it becomes less important. I'm sure that you would agree to call it like one thing. It's just your gift and you're called to use it, you know, when you're working with people. Does that resonate at all when I say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is so hard in a way, because you're like, you would like people to understand, or, you know, they tell you that you have to, you know, to know how to explain what you do. And so you look for labels, you look for modalities, you look for boxes, but it's just like, you know, in the end, it turns into it's spirit helping you, and we are kind of vessels in a way. But you know, if you put it this simple, probably a lot of people would not, I don't know, connect with it. And so, but it's good to be able to talk at this level, because I think that it would be useful for a lot of people to stop wanting to compartmentalize what others do, to understand if they can help them, because it goes so much deeper than that, right? Like you sit across from someone and you know from their lock meaning like in their eyes, right? Or their energy, or how they talk to you, if this is the right person for you or not. It doesn't really matter if they have 15,000 trainings or one or none, or, you know, but I think that we are trying, all of us probably, to bring little pieces to create that, right? To create that ability to trust what we feel inside when we are in front of someone, and to, you know, decide that this is the person that is going to help us right now to transition, you know, from where we are to where we want to be.
I feel like you have a transition story as it comes to that, and it comes to your kind of healing and your gifts.
Oh yeah. I've been transitioning for a long while, feels like. Them are like, all right, so where's the land here? Because you know, but oh yeah, for sure. That I had to, well, before I was mentioning the dark night of the soul, I guess that was like the hitting point that kind of really propelled me to look into all the trauma that I had, and that I didn't even know was there. Funnily enough, a lot of people that I work with, when we touch the childhood, they always say, "Oh, I had a very happy childhood. Everything was fine with me." And then I know that that's exactly where, you know, the big knot is, because it's most of the time absolutely not true. That doesn't mean you have to have had a very bad happening to you, you know, but like childhood is a lot of where a lot of the knots come from. Not just that, of course, but a lot of it. So basically hitting that rock bottom very, very hardly propelled me to this journey of wanting to understand what went wrong. I'm not sure what happened. And from there, you know, who am I and where should I be going then? You know, what is my real path?
So can you tell us what that was for you?
We're like, and more words.
Yeah. All right. So
You can't just tease us. Come
okay,
on.
sorry. All right. Okay. So I had done a lot of like theater and music. That was really, it is still art, my passion, and one thing that I feel really good, an element that I really feel good in. Towards the end of that period, I was having my own band. I was creating my own music. We were doing, a lot of fun things, but I could realize that I was bumping against blockages. I didn't know those were it back then. I didn't know I had a lot of fears and trauma that were kind of blocking me into believing in myself. I could not really see my value, the goodness of what I was creating, any of that. And so kind of, stumbling on these things, basically the project never developed into what we wanted to. And I found myself basically in a very dark place at one point. All of a sudden, like I lost my job, I broke up with my then boyfriend, I was in debt, and I had to go back to live with my mom. This is like, like the sign that, okay, things are not flowing correctly. And like everything kind of, one night it felt all very heavy, and I kind of had a moment where I was like, maybe I should just throw myself out of the window. That was just a glimpse of a very fast thought, and I fell asleep. And the morning after, when I woke up, I felt that like something had like popped open in a way. And I remember I walked in front of my sister's bookshelf, and I saw this book. And I kind of just, I don't know why, like something like the light, that highlights something. And I just reached for the book and I started reading it. And I had finished it by, I think, the end of the day. And this book was all about how we believe to be something because we believe our thoughts. But we are so much more than those thoughts. That was the thing that really kind of opened my eyes. And it started like this whole long process of learning to listen to myself again. And I think that, like just taking these little steps, everything started to take a different flow. So I met my husband, actually, I got pregnant, and all at the same time, I realized that what I've always wanted to do was to help people, because that's what I've been doing even when I was like in my teenage years. Like I would read cards for my friends, or like I would get like the random person come up to me and ask me what they should do about something. I'm sure that happened to you too, right? Those are all signs, and they're so much important, and we don't give it enough value, or we don't notice those enough. And it's important that we stop and we kind of look back and collect those pieces together. That's basically what I've been doing. I've done for a very long time then, because I was 2008, I believe, when this thing happened. And that took me like into, a lot of places where I looked deeper into my trauma, into my wounds, into my spiritual connection, into realizing the truth of the spiritual forces that are with us, and also the ones that are not with us that much, because we want to be honest and talk about all the stuff, not just the, nice and fluffy. And so that, like unraveling, it was it's still a lot of unraveling going on, but I think that it's all good. And the spiritual help, as well as, working into identifying thoughts and beliefs and letting go of them, learning to transform them. This has basically been the core of my work on myself, and also what I do with other people.
Do you remember the title of the book?
Oh my gosh. that was actually a collection, I believe, of lectures from Osho.
Oh yeah, Osho,
yeah.
The Art of Living Dangerously. I know he.
There are so many books out there that he wrote. And I know, well, I learned at one point that he was a kind of a controversial figure for how things ended. But so that happened with most of the, I want to say, prophets or very enlightened people, especially in past times. And that was really like the most eye-opening thing, because it was just really, I felt like someone was really talking to me on a very basic level, basic meaning on a very clear level, right? Without trying to make concept complicated or, convoluted. And it was just like very, very clear information. And you are not your thought kind of thing was just like, like probably one of the most transformative things that I have had the chance to feel true in my body. And that helped me the most, still helps me. So yeah.
You mentioned that you feel like you're still going through it. You're still going through this transition, this transformation. What does that look like for you now, right? From 2008 now to 2023, what's that been like?
Thank you. This is such a good question, because it feels like for a lot of people, for a long time, you never get out of the same shit, pardon my French. And you keep on doing you feel like you're doing the things, you feel like you're blah, 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 and nothing is happening really. And instead, I want to tell everybody, please continue, because then eventually something finally clicks, and I did a lot of work. In fact, I have a lot of trainings too, because I did it mostly for myself, to heal myself, really. But like, it's the thing that clicked actually, and that how it looks now is that I see it so much more faster. I see, like when my self-sabotaging tries to rear its end, where my self-doubts pop up again. And the fact that I see them faster, it makes me switch my perspective, like in a heartbeat. And that is what really triggers. When I tell a little story that just happened, I was flying from here to Montana, and of course, the connecting flight was in Denver. When I landed in Denver, I would have had plenty of time to catch my flight, but they decided to cancel it after like 3 hours that I was sitting there waiting. So I was just like overwhelmed by, anger and all the negative emotions, because that's not what you really want to be there. And so I had my how can I say, my share of tears that I felt like I had to cry. And then finally, when I cleared up, I had the ability to tell myself, okay, if I created this all, why did I created this? And I started becoming aware of all the conflicting energy that I had against my trip, right? Like, oh, I don't really want to travel. I don't know if I want to spend so much time over there. I have things to do and all the yada, yada, that, and so I really took the time to shift all those thinking. And that was like, this is a super simple process that, I just became aware of the other day. And I was like, okay, so now what do I want to connect with? What is going to take me there? And I started, enlisting all the good things that I wanted to experience, that I knew that I was going to experience if I was going to get there. Because the problem there was that being the 4th of July, there were no flights. I would have to fly standby. So that means you might get in, you might get not. And I might even have to spend the whole time in Denver and then fly back. So that was not, how I had envisioned anyway to spend my time. But as I shifted all those energies and all those thoughts, And the day after, I just kept on following my intuition, what my intuition was telling me to do. And I ended up being on the second flight in standby. They just got me in because someone didn't show up. And it just felt like, like there is this guidance that wants to come through us. And so this is how I feel like the work has changed, because we it's a never ending work, in my opinion, because we have so many layers going back to past lives and even before, right? But if we are consistent, then eventually we finally, get it,
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I feel like the three of us can relate on so many levels.
Yeah.
Down to
How
the
did you put it?
airport side of things.
Yeah, down to the airport side of things. Yeah. How did you put it we had a guest before and Kaylin kept saying, you've been reading our diaries, or Cass said, I can't remember. You've been reading our diaries.
For sure.
Yeah, you definitely are saying and repeating so many things that we've said privately to one another and on this podcast. And you can't speak truth enough. Say it as many times as it's always refreshing to hear. So.
Yeah, we need all to hear it like over and over
again.
Yeah.
I think that the beautiful thing too that just kind of like came through is like what this part of you saying that you still feel like you're in transition, right? But it's not, I mean, it is, but it's also like it's a journey. And what do you do when you're in those parts, and you get faster at recognizing, and you get better at seeing what it is, and you're surrounded by people that are really good at showing you what it is or helping you figure out what it is when you have those blind spots. But it's a journey. It's not like all of a sudden one day you're like, all right, well, I've arrived, I'm enlightened, and I get to live the rest of my days in this skin suit in this enlightened state. Like,
right.
I wish that was going to happen, but I don't know that that's what will happen. Cass, you can speak. To this.
What's funny is years and years ago, one of my first mentors, Mataji, she studied Tibetan monks, which is, she would pull out like these random things. But one of the things that she said is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And that was like one of her phrases that just like immediately brought me back. Of like, oh yeah, you can be enlightened, you can be self-actualized as much as humanly possible. You can tap into the Akashic, you can do all the plant meds, all the psychedelics, all of the things, tap into ethers 12D and beyond, and still be like, well, fuck, my flight got canceled.
Yeah. And I think that because the trap, honestly, by all these like enlightenment, all of a sudden people are out there selling, these solutions for your life that, today you're shit and tomorrow you'll be the Queen of England. It's just not true.
No.
And it's enough of this bullshit, honestly, because it's a journey, and like it makes it so hard, because then, as I did as well, and I'm sure it probably happened to you too, like you fall into that trouble, you're like, then maybe I'm really doomed. Like I can't change. I can't do things. It's not gonna work for me ever. And that's what, a lot of people end up thinking. But it's a freaking journey, and it's not gonna end. So, like you might as well just be at peace with it and know that you're gonna carry the water before, during, and after. And that's okay, but it just gets lighter, right? That is the whole, because otherwise, really, like you end up thinking that you are the one who's really missing a piece and you cannot do it. And because everybody else out there, not everybody, luckily, but like a lot of them out there, they're just trying to show how perfect everything is. And it's just not true. And it really annoys me.
What was that card I pulled for you, Cass? New level, new devil. It's just, you just got to keep going. It's like, you leveled up again. Now you have a new devil. So keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Like just.
And then it's funny because it comes down to the expectation now. Like, for instance, I was just doing a lot of digging into the nodes, and the nodes moving next week. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I totally resonate with, the Taurus Scorpio and what just happened and where my past year and a half was. And like all the dates are lining up and everything perfect. And then I was like, I wonder what's going to happen for like the next one. And I'm looking and feeling into it. And I was like, and I'm already getting kind of a glimpse. And I was like, oh shit, that's going to suck. I was like, I know exactly where it's going. I got a snippet of like the end of it. And I was like, but how do I get from there to from here to like there? Ooh, that feels like another transition.
Oh yeah, exactly. But that's the spirit though, right? Like you say it to yourself laughing because, like that's the best attitude anyway, to take it lightly and keep doing the work.
Correct.
Mhm.
Agree.
Mm.
Well, the moral of the story is keep doing the work.
Correct.
Guys.
Correct.
Just keep digging.
I was gonna say, where can our listeners find you and follow along with kind of your journey and your work and connect with you?
I'm sorry, I missed the first.
Where can our listeners find
Oh, sorry.
you and
I was like,
your journey and follow along?
yeah. So, well,
question.
yeah, I didn't get the first part. I was like, all right. So, well, my website is a place where they can get some more information. And that's elisapalmahancock.com, which is my full name. Then I am a little bit on social media, a little bit here, a little bit there, mostly on Facebook. So definitely my Facebook profile, and which is Elisa Palma-Hancock, and I have reopened my Facebook group, and I will actually be doing things like my Akashic energy forecast over there, group healing, energy healing with the records as well, and that is the soul-centered entrepreneur community. Sorry for my rudimental English. You write it down and you understand it better. And that's where they can. I would love for them to connect with me.
Can you give us like a 30-second snippet of your forecasts? I'm just really curious now.
I actually haven't had the chance yet to dig into because usually I do it around new moon.
Okay.
And so, but let me see if something wants to come through since you asked.
I just wanted a commercial. I just feel I'm like, it's so cool. I'm like, I want to go for that.
Yeah. Let me see. All right. So, so usually I do kind of combination of both Akashic Records channeled messages, and sometimes I use oracle cards as well, just because I feel like they really talk to me on such like a big level, like a very, and the cards sometimes help to bring things to a very practical, more down to earth part. But like what I was getting here is that there is, as we turn on the new moon, that's Monday, the 17th, there is this shift, like it's gonna make me feel like having the chance to dip into like the sense of love and self-compassion a lot. And that, of course, like we translate in very different ways for each one of us. But it feels like getting a turn, right, into the ability of looking at ourselves from a more compassionate and understanding ways, not other people, mostly really starting with ourselves, right, within ourselves, and what we are bringing and carrying, what we've been going through. It really feels like it can open a little bit a door to kind of saying, it's been a lot, and you are allowed to make that count. towards everything that you haven't been able to accomplish right now, to realize right now, or yet, or, all the stories you've been telling yourself. So it really feels like there is a shift of energy that can help us get into that expanded space of self-love, which I think is so beautiful. And as I perceive it in my body, I really can feel like my stomach, my plexus area kind of, getting like, I'm okay, even though. And that was just like the first drop that came in. So more to come, right?
Yes.
I will
Yeah.
definitely go deeper into this and see what else comes through. Usually, I give like a bigger, like the bigger umbrella, right? And then look into how the energy might develop and how we can use that energy, every time to move forward along the month. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Thank you so much. It's going to make, I'm joining. I don't even go on Facebook, but I'm going on Facebook. And
I know. I'm like, well,
Damn it.
I'd love to have you.
you're about to have 3 new members of your group. So I hope you're ready.
Yes, I am for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. I told you to. She was a pretty special human.
You did.
Thank
She
you.
did.
So are you. Yeah. It felt so good. Thank you for the conversation.
I can see why she's your favorite.
I know. I could
Mhm.
just talk to her forever.
Her accent doesn't to her either.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It makes it way better.
You're like,
Yes.
just chat. It's so funny because when she was, I was asking just for a 30-second snippet for like what she does typically in a forecast, not for her to go into. I'm more than happy to receive what she went into though. But what's funny is when she was tapping in and channeling, I was getting like a lot of like old English or like old Latin kind of words and kind of phrases kind of come through. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm curious as to who's on her spiritual team and who she's tapping into.
Oh, that is
Mm.
interesting. Like almost like a chanting, like Gregorian chants or something like that. Oh, that's
Oh,
interesting.
dang.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. So
I'll have to ask her about that. Yeah,
I
I
was like,
would
I
like.
Pandora's box though. If we were, I was like, sorry, this podcast has to. I have an appointment, but that's where I wanted to go, and I was like, I can't go. I can't ask.
Well, we'll have to do it another time because
We'll just have to invite her for a conversation.
That's
Yeah,
right.
she'll have to have a second one. So
absolutely.
Mm.
Well, happy rest of your day, my loves. It was good.
Seriously,
Nice to
drive
you.
safe to you, to
And
your
the listeners.
camping.